Good evening. I'm David Watts Jr., and this is the 2013 Town Election Candidates Debate for Board of Selectmen candidates. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Welcome candidates and press. The debate this evening, the moderator will govern the conduct of the debate at all times. The order of the candidates has been determined just prior to the debate by a drawing of lots. There are no opening statements in tonight's debate. Questions to the candidates have not been provided in advance, and they must be relevant to issues important to the town. Please refrain from personal questions. In turn, in tonight's debate, each press representative will ask a question of the next candidate in order. To allow for as many questions as possible in the time allowed, while maintaining the ability for all to have a chance to respond, candidates should please keep their answers short and to the point. The candidate asked the question may respond for up to 2 minutes. Each remaining candidate may present a 1-minute response to the same question. 10 seconds before your time runs out, I'll raise the pen. That means 10 seconds are left. At the end of the debate, each candidate in turn will have the opportunity to present a 2-minute closing statement. In order to be able to adhere to program format time schedules, require strict compliance to the stated time limits. Joining us this evening on our press panel is editor William LaForme of Wakefield Patch and reporter Mark Sardella of Wakefield Daily Item. And the candidates this evening are Daniel L. Benjamin Jr., Ann McGonigal Santos, Tiziano Dotto, Sean S. Margerison, and F. Michael Nardone. Phyllis J. Hull, who is also a candidate for the Board of Selectmen, was unable to accept our invitation to tonight's debate and will be given an opportunity to make a 2-minute statement sometime in the very, very near future. So with that, Bill, if you would ask Dan Benjamin the first question, please.
Okay. Mr. Benjamin, hello.
Yes, hello.
Since we just spent the last 60 minutes speaking with members of the school committee about their work, I'm wondering, if you could just talk for a moment about how you would work with other departments, such as the school committee and colleagues at Town Hall, just to further the town's best interests?
Well, as far as the school committee, I would like the selectmen to meet more with the school committee as a board, 2 boards meeting together. And also, I've been a resident of Wakefield for 66 years, so I think I'm very well, acquainted with Wakefield. I shop local, I eat local. People see me walking through the square. I belong to many different organizations in Wakefield, nonprofits, civic groups. I'm also very involved in trying to get the Boys and Girls Club into Wakefield. And I think that I can add something maybe for the senior citizen, which I am, 66. I have no intention of going for other office, so if I can make it on the Board of Selectmen, I'm here for 3 years.
Thank you. Ann Santos.
I think that there has to be transparency, honesty, whether or not you agree with opinions in other departments, to respect that opinion and to understand that everyone has Wakefield's best interest at heart. And even if you don't agree necessarily with the road that they're traveling to get there, I think the committees work best when they understand that. I've lived in Wakefield virtually my entire life, and I remember as back in high school and junior high, sometimes the committees were a bit entertaining watching them on television when that didn't happen. And I think in recent years, there has been a movement towards civility, there's been a movement towards working together, and it has shown in Wakefield moving forward. So that would be my goal in a committee, to be open and transparent with others.
Thank you. Tiz Dotto.
Thank you. I would have to agree with Ann that there has to be some transparency between the boards here in Wakefield, in particular with the school committee and the Board of Selectmen. I think there has to be an open line of communication between the Board of Selectmen and the school department, given the past recent, I should say, developments with the school committee budget and the responses that were made by Mr. Mail, the town administrator, as well as the Board of Selectmen. So I think the mere fact that communication plays a vital role in where this town should go with respect to all the boards and the committees that serve, I think that would be the biggest way to go at this point, just through communication.
Thank you. Sean Margerison.
Yes, thank you. Actually, elaborating a little more on what Tiz said, the school board and the Board of Selectmen, they do have, obviously this transparency that needs to happen, but at the same time, there is a working closer within, right now there's a fracture with IT, as I think everyone knows, bringing that together and working a little bit closer to be on the same page. And similar to what Ann said, we're all working towards a similar goal. We're all working with the same tax money. And somehow working together closer, but not too close because they are technically separate, is the right approach to take.
Michael Nardone.
Yes, over 3 years ago, I mentioned this in one of my articles in the paper, that the Board of Selectmen, along with the Finance Committee, should be working with the school committee to make sure that they're not overspending, that there's enough money in the town budget. Everybody has to have their equal share. We cannot debate the salaries, because that's contract. All we can do is make sure that there's no waste in spending the money at the school department. And I think working with the selectmen and the finance committee, that should be accomplished.
Thank you. Mark Sardella, question for Ann McGonigal-Santos, please.
And should the town be appealing the Attorney General's rejection of the town bylaw banning medical marijuana dispensaries? If the appeal fails, where should these shops be located?
I knew I was getting this one. I think I agree with the town appealing it. And part of the reason is Tom Mullen, as town council, is on salary. I'm not sure if my answer would be different if we had to hire out and spend an awful lot of money for the appeal. I read the Attorney General's report as an attorney, and as someone on the Board of Health, who we were behind the bylaw. I think there are questions to appeal on that. I don't think it's an empty appeal. I also think, understanding that the majority of voters in Wakefield voted for the medicinal marijuana law, I have a problem with that law. I don't think it's very well written. I think it's full of ambiguities. I also have a problem with the transparency of the law, that it was funded almost completely by someone in California whose real goal is the decriminalization of marijuana, not simply medicinal marijuana. In a town meeting, as we all know, overwhelmingly the voters supported the bylaw. That said, I think we should appeal it. If we lose the appeal, I think the way Burlington went with the temporary moratorium made a lot of sense. To come back to what you said about where they should be, not in my backyard kind of mentality. I don't want it next to where I live. I certainly don't want it where my children is who's using these shops. So I think Wakefield would have to think very carefully about putting it in a district that would not take away from other businesses, nor would it influence children that could get there easily, because my concern is exposure to marijuana like that is not going to be good for our youth.
Thank you. Tiz Dodo.
Yes, so the question was, should we have appealed the decision? And I absolutely feel that we should have appealed the decision. Number one, given the cost is minimal, that Tom Mullen is on salary, I think it's vital that we send a message to the state that we're just not going to roll over and just take the Attorney General's decision and just not do anything. I think it's of the Board of Selectmen and Town Administrator Mayo and Tom Mullen that we have appealed this decision. Given the set of circumstances with the town meeting and how overwhelmingly, we didn't approve of it, of the bylaw. So I think I think we absolutely made the right decision. Legally speaking, it's going to be an uphill battle. There's no doubt about that. The second part of the question is, where would we want to put such a facility? I mean, you know, if we were forced to do it, which may be the case, I think the only logical place would be in an industrial part of the town.
Thank you, Mr. Dodo.
Thank you.
Sean Margerson.
Yes, thank you. In terms of the question, whether we should have appealed, I completely think we should have appealed. And as Ann said, I believe it's not an empty case. I actually think there is, at the same time, the AG has spoken. It'll be hard to rescind her choice or her decision. In terms of, secondarily, I think we also need to update the bylaws similar to what Burlington has done, and also see what we can't do to make it more. I don't believe permanent. We've already gone the permanent route, but what Burlington is trying to do is a temporary moratorium to review what can be done, and hopefully we can change our bylaws to somehow restrict the places. In terms of where, I actually agree with both candidates, because it's a tough question. Not in my backyard, absolutely, and I have the same concerns. You know, my kids walking downtown, I'm concerned for the safety, and from what I've read, you know, with a medical marijuana facility, but at the same time, if it has to go somewhere, I would suggest maybe an industrial area.
Thank you. Michael Nardone.
I'm not an expert in this field, but after 33 years as a Massachusetts State Trooper, I've seen plenty of it. And it's just the reports that almost everybody has, not everybody, but a lot of people have small amounts of marijuana. Will the dispensing of marijuana help, you know, for medical purposes? I don't know. That's a place to put it. One person said industrial area. We have industrial areas in town, but I think the best place was to maybe try and get, like the Melrose Wakefield Hospital, room there where there's doctors there, nurses there, and maybe a clinic there that they go to just one place where everybody can go. That'd be my suggestion.
Thank you. Dan Benjamin.
Medical marijuana dispensaries, I think they came out with the no rules and regulations on it when it was voted in. And it won by a 2-to-1 margin in Massachusetts and by about 10% in Wakefield. And I think that we could try a moratorium like Burlington did and would put it off for another year until, I believe, June of 2014. But where would we have it? I think Wakefield a few years ago came up with an adult entertainment district in the Pleasure Island area, and I think that would probably be the best area for it. It would be accessible for people off the highway, and they wouldn't be coming through the towns. Now, as far as the regulations on these marijuana dispensaries, there is none. They just say that you need a 60-day supply. That could be 1 ounce off 60 pounds. They've never said where these people are they're supposed to grow it, or I think I'm out of time.
Thank you. Bill LaForme, a question for Tiz Dodo, please.
Okay. Mr. Dodo, just a somewhat related question. What would you say, all of you are longtime residents, is the greatest public safety / crime problem in Wakefield at this point?
The greatest safety issue, crime problem, as I read the paper almost daily, appears to me still to be drugs and alcohol-related offenses. It seems to me that those two major issues lead to other offenses. So to curb crime in this town of ours, I think we first need to address those offenses that generate other offenses. So I think the most important issues for me, and I'd like to see more enforcement of alcohol offenses, drug offenses in this town, and I think that's the route to make this a better and safer town.
Sean Margerson.
Yes, similarly, I can only speak to what I've read in the paper, and the one that's most pronounced to me is the house break-ins. And I actually think it's related to drugs and such in terms of needing to get money for supply. And I'm not sure what the police can do more, because it's obviously an ad hoc act, meaning, from what I've read, it doesn't seem like it's a case, a case-by-case situation. They're finding a house and they break in, that seems appealing, if that's the correct word. What we can do about it, at this point, I don't know, other than similarly trying to reduce the drug activity as much as possible to reduce the need for the money for the drugs.
Thank you. Michael Nardone.
First of all, I'd like to say that the Wakefield Police, in my views, are doing a very good job. A lot of traffic problems in Wakefield, which also leads to the drug arrest, domestic problems, drug arrest. It's a little of everything. So I think just continue, maybe try and get some more money for sending some of the police officers to specialty schools to maybe find out these problems, get to them before they happen. So that would be my choice.
Dan Benjamin.
I think there is a drug problem, and I think we now have a police officer in the high school, which I think will help in that situation. I also think one of the problems is some of the group homes we have. Lately, you've seen in the newspaper, the Wakefield Police responded to one home 78 times in a year for assault and batteries, for people with dangerous weapons. And I think that those group homes should be put to the selectmen for a meeting just to see what's going on in these group homes.
Thank you. Ann Santos.
I would agree with most of my candidates. As an assistant district attorney in Middlesex County for about 6 years, drug and alcohol abuse was bad back then, and it certainly is now. My concern is with the youth in Wakefield. And the Board of Health is working hand in hand with the school system with regard to the Substance Abuse Coalition. We've heard tragedies in surrounding towns. Wakefield hasn't had such visible tragedies, and we'd like to prevent that. But I also agree with what Dan says. The calls to the Lafayette Street home are concerning, and I'm not sure as a state-run home what our powers are over that, and I'd be curious to have them come before the board and speak.
Thank you. Mark Sardella, a question to Sean Margerison, please.
Sean Street will soon be opening in Linfield. How can you, as a member of the Board of Selectmen, work with merchants and the Chamber of Commerce to lessen the impact on Wakefield businesses?
Well, you really have two choices. You can either embrace Market Street or you can discourage Market Street. And I think that leads itself into a revitalization of downtown question. And if we embrace engaging and looking for ways to leverage, if we engage them, we can find ways of leveraging their advertising and possibly enticing their customers to come to Wakefield. And somehow working with them in parallel, not necessarily that they would work with us, but when you visit Linfield Marketplace, visit Wakefield as well, this is what we have to offer. And basically working with them.
Thank you. Michael Nardone.
Nobody really knows what the true impact Market Street will develop. The Board of Public Works has to be on guard because we do not know exactly how much sewage is coming from there, how many meters, water meters are going to be supplied by the town of Linfield. But we have to accept all the sewage. Now, people drive down New Salem Street all the time, heavy rainstorms, there's sewage all up and down the street because some of our sewer lines aren't equipped for this. With all this extra sewage, 200 or 300 apartments, restaurants, buildings, we don't know what type of stuff the restaurant's going to dump into our system, all these people. So the impact, I think Wakefield's going to feel the biggest impact because people might go shopping there instead of staying downtown. But we have to, I know Mr. Mayo is trying the best to keep he can, keep shops open and keep it affordable for all the people.
Thank you. Dan Benjamin.
I think it'll affect the merchants in Wakefield somewhat, but not to the extent that some people think. I think some of the stores that are going to be at Market Street are kind of specialized store and won't affect the downtown Wakefield area. What concerns me is the safety issue of Market Street being there and the access road coming out, which I think I was a delivery driver. I know they're going to go for the quickest way they can, and they're going to come out through the Sheraton entrance onto Audubon Road. Now with another development going on right at the intersection of that street, a large, I believe, condo or apartment building, if, for example, one truck tipped over at that intersection, would totally block that entire area. When you got, businesses, apartment 5 Audubon Road, I think it's a safety issue by having that and allowing delivery trucks to come in and out that way.
Thank you. Ann Santos.
I think in the beginning it might have some impact, but the shops that I've heard are going into Market Street are targeting perhaps a different customer than our average Wakefield customer. I don't think many of my friends would be shopping at Whole Foods for everything they need. They may go for something and then come back to Wakefield to get other more reasonably priced, perhaps, items. However, if we continue with the development of Wakefield downtown and look to move forward and to bring in shops that perhaps mirror on a smaller scale Market Street, I think, as Sean might have said, you can work hand in hand. And I think that would be the best impact. Don't be afraid of it. Just look at it, embrace it, and see what we can do to help Wakefield.
Thank you. Tiz Toto.
Thank you. I think the Chamber of Commerce, the business community, and the town as a whole, including the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator, have to work collaboratively with together in order to revitalize the downtown and also focus on our biggest asset that we have in Wakefield, and that's our lake. That's what generates and brings a lot of people to our town. And if we could market and get more visibility with respect to the lake, and maybe attract more businesses that may have to do with outdoors or anything related to the lake, could certainly attract more businesses here. But we do need to focus on more of a revitalization of the downtown, relieve some parking issues that we have downtown. So we really need to work together to try to focus on, to bring more people to the downtown business
Thank you.
area. Thank you.
Bill LaForme, a question for Mike Nardone, please.
Mr. Nardone, I'm wondering, as selectmen, are there certain things in the short term that you can do to make the business climate more friendly for downtown merchants and independent businesses in Wakefield?
The only thing I can see is trying to, we have a bylaw saying that we're supposed to clean off the sidewalks. And I think to keep the businesses flourishing, I think maybe the town could help by plowing off the sidewalks so people can access all the stores they want to go to. If they have to, I know they have to climb over, snowbanks, but once they're on the sidewalk and if it's nice and clear, they'll shop downtown, but that's one thing that could be done.
Thank you. Dan Benjamin.
When it comes to the downtown, it's 3 words, parking and parking. There's no parking in the downtown area. What they need is a parking garage of some type. They need to either look at the old town hall parking lot and decide to either restripe it, reconfigure it in some way, or even look at the parking lot that is town-owned land opposite the Omelette headquarters. Down there, they could stripe that off, have plenty of parking for some of the restaurants in that area. And as far as the downtown, I just think that right now there's too many restaurants, need more retail in the downtown area. And I think the Economic Development Committee has done wonders there. I know Paul Donaco and his group there with the Events Committee has done a fantastic job, and he should be, commended for that. But I think it just needs more work down there, better signage to show where the parking is. Thank you.
Thank you. Ann Santos.
My understanding is that a lot of the problem with some of the empty storefronts is based on the owners of the buildings themselves in the incentives to not fill the buildings with businesses. Sometimes they make more money actually writing off the empty building than putting something in there. And I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that's what I've heard from folks, I think, who know about it. And that's frustrating to me, that the owners of the buildings are not actively trying to work as hard as we are to make it a vibrant downtown and to bring in small coffee shops where people can meet and then go to the next store to buy something. So some sort of dialogue to entice those people to work better with us.
Thank you. Tis Dodo.
Yes, I think as a short-term solution, I think from a town perspective, as businesses come into the town, new businesses, I think we need to alleviate some of the red tape that businesses go through in order to get, we did initiate a new sign bylaw that we put in place, which I think eventually will make the town look more uniform. But this is going to take time, and it's going to take energy and effort. And but like Dan said, parking is an issue for people that go downtown. But the major thing that I see as an issue is just alleviating some of the red tape that goes with opening a business, make it a little easier for business to come in town.
Thank you. Sean Margerson.
Yes, thank you. Basically what you're referring to is downtown revitalization, what we can do to revitalize. And I mean, things have been suggested in the past, such as re-landscaping, standardizing signs, and beautifying downtown, and most have had limited results. I have one thing that Dan mentioned was the Economic Development Committee, which I'm on. We passed a sidewalk cafe to allow restaurants to put so many tables outside. We encourage that, and it frankly hasn't been taken advantage of yet. I think it's a great option for the townspeople to be able to enjoy, and it would bring in more people from out of town as well. On a very basic level, I think we need to update heavily traveled streets with new streetscaping, meaning jut outs into the street, similar to landscape, add trees, add places for people to sit and enjoy as they're walking downtown, more than what we have now. I also think we need to find a way to lure a couple of landmark stores, potentially with tax incentives somehow, to bring them downtown. I know that Burlington has done so with great success, and I think we have to search those options much more heavily. And the last one, and this is just a suggestion, one idea that I had was running the rail to trail is something that's kind of died in the past, but if we were to consider running the rail to trail from just the Wakefield section, from Linfield Marketplace, Alvin, finish that project and literally make it a gateway back and forth. When I was talking about enhancing both working with Linfield Marketplace, that allows somebody to walk back and forth and enjoy both and work in parallel.
Thank you. Mark Sardella, a question for Dan Benjamin, please.
Wakefield will not be holding a 4th of July parade this year. As a member of the Board of Selectmen, will you be advocating for any organization or newly formed group to once again take on the task of raising funds for a parade?
What a question to ask me. The parade committee has disbanded. I'm almost positive that you will not see a parade this year. There has been people that have approached, I believe, the selectmen or the town administrator about doing something, but they are not Wakefield people. They don't have Wakefield at heart. And I think that if you do get a parade going again, and believe me, that's the parade, and it's a tradition in Wakefield that's been going on for 75 years. I want to see the parade come back, definitely. I mean, I was the guy that at 5 o'clock in the morning painted those red, white, and blue stars on the street. So believe me, I want to see it. And if there's any way possible, if the former committee can work with a new group in any way, I'm sure the committee would.
Thank you. Ann Santos.
I agree with Dan and thank him for all his work. I know how hard and long he's worked on that committee. I can't imagine there being a parade this year with everything that goes into it. I know they start planning for the next parade the day after pretty much the last one ends. I think Dan is right that there has to be an awful lot of work of people coming together. I think the selectmen can facilitate some of that because it is something that thousands and thousands of people come to Wakefield to see. in a slightly different way. It doesn't have to be redone exactly as it was. So some new ideas, some different people coming together to make it perhaps a different experience. I think it'd be great.
Thank you. Tis Dodo.
Yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate when the committee disbanded that ran the Fourth of July parade. It has been a tradition here in Wakefield for the longest time. It does attract thousands of people here. You know, it's a huge undertaking. When they came in and told us into one of our board meetings, the type of work it takes that goes into that day, it's just amazing. So it's not as easy as said and done just by, you know, saying, okay, I want to form a committee to do this. It takes a huge amount of effort, huge amount of money, huge amount of time. So as the Board of Selectmen, we should encourage groups to get together and try to, if not recreate, at least bring something to the table so that we can keep the tradition going. I just don't see it happening this year. Hopefully, somehow, some way it does. But because it takes a very long time to plan this thing. So, but yeah, I'd certainly encourage any group that would want to come and form a committee to do so.
Thank you. Sean Margerison.
Thank you. I don't have a lot of answer on this one because I don't have a lot of experience with this one, but I will say this. Moving here many years ago, frankly, that was one thing that even to this day my kids love going to it, so it's going to be greatly missed. From what I hear, it's not going to happen this year, and it's very frustrating, but times dictate where we are. The only idea that I had in general was we may need to reach out to other towns, cities, committees that literally run parades. And I don't know, this is not something that's obviously something that you would have to investigate to see if that could even happen. But I prefer to keep it in town, but if that's not an option, it's been very successful and one of the largest in the state for 4th of July. I'd like to see it kept in place.
Thank you. Michael Nardone.
Just like to say that I lived here all my life, and I used to go to downtown, I hope, down to the Common, when the first thing they did was put up West Side Social Club welcomes you, right down near the lake. That was the first display you saw. But that was, I'm going back, I hate to say how old I am, but over 60 years ago. I hope if anybody does want to put on a parade, and I know it's real hard, that the West Side, their committee would have all their notes and man hours they put into it, and everything would be accessible to any group coming to town. Even give all those paperwork to Mr. Mayo and the Selectmen, so they have it on file. So if anybody wants to come to Wakefield, or the town can see how much it costs to run the parade. West Side Social Club did it all on volunteer, all on donations. So for the town to come out and find another, whatever it might be, $50, $75, $100,000, that's kind of another burden putting on the taxpayers. So I'd like to try and keep it as voluntary, if possible. If not, we'll hope somebody takes it over.
Thank you. Bill LaForme, a question for Ann Santos, please.
Mrs. Santos, one question. A lot of towns are struggling to find volunteers and people to fill certain board spots and things, and just sort of a period of low civic involvement overall in the area. How would you assess this for Wakefield? Is that a problem here?
I think it's a problem with some boards, and I even see it at the PTO level. In my daughter's, she's a 4th grader at the Walton School, we have had harding folks to volunteer for certain committees. And certain events may go by the wayside because people aren't stepping up, and I don't know if it's a function of people working more, people being very busy, but we had a spirited discussion at one of our recent meetings, actually, about new parents being brought into the fold as to our more experienced parents who've been running these things. And we said it really just starts with grabbing a bunch of, and typically they're women, grabbing a bunch of the moms, going out for a drink, going out for a coffee. Oftentimes there's more drink at night after getting the kids ready, and just talking about what you want to do. What do you want? How do you want to get involved? And I think that kind of outreach at the town level can also be done. To talk to groups, to say, geez, you might be great for the Board of Health. You might be great for the selectmen, I was chatted up by someone about this and have been thinking for a few years, but someone reached out to me and talked. I think it starts with that.
Thank you. Tis Dodo.
Yeah, I don't see it as a significant problem in Wakefield. I mean, every time a committee position opens up, we do get requests from the town of, people from the town of Wakefield to fill those gaps. I mean, would we want more candidates coming before the Board of Selectmen or, applying for a spot on any committee? Of course. But it's something that you want to do. You want to donate your time. And, you got to have a passion for it. I think that, the lives that we lead, I work full-time, my wife works full-time. She was on the, and it's just, it's a hectic life that we lead, but I think, and that, I'm not just speaking for myself, I think it's out there, everybody leads a hectic life. So finding the time to donate is difficult, but I commend everybody that does come and step up to the plate every time there's a position opening, so.
Thank you. Sean Margerison.
Yes, thank you. You're actually speaking to somebody, or listening to somebody that volunteers a lot. I'm on the Economic Development Committee, I'm on the Wakefield IT Committee, I'm on the chairman of the Capital Planning Committee. I volunteer, I coach baseball, Wakefield Little League, I coach for the WBA, basketball 2 teams, I have typically 2 teams, and I assist in lacrosse. So this year I'm not, but typically I have. So I do a lot of volunteering, and in doing so, a lot of people say, why do you volunteer so much? And I encourage them to actually do so. And I've actually been very impressed with how many people recently have said, is it something that I can get involved in? It's looking at Wakefield. One thing that's really attractive about Wakefield is people care. They want to get involved. The other side of that is I've also had conversations where at the end of the day, they don't want to get involved in terms of the spotlight. They don't want to be wrong. They don't want to be in the papers as being wrong and have conflict. And that's the personality of some people. Some people put themselves out there like we're considering, and other people want to be more introverted, if you will, and not put themselves out there. And I don't think Wakefield actually has a problem. I think people volunteer as much as they can.
Thank you. Michael Nardone.
Well, back in 1985, Wally Mosher appointed me on to the fence, as a fence viewer in Wakefield. That was my first touch of donating my time. But just offhand, I've been on 7 different committees in Wakefield, off and on, the Lake Quantipower Study Committee, Downtown Parking Committee, Montrose Fire Station Committee. I used to be the chairman of the Fair Housing Partnership Committee. I've been on several different committees. Street Safety Committee. I've been on all of them, donated my time for everything. Also running for public office. So I see a lot of people, when there is a opening, there are a lot of people still out there like to donate some of their time.
Thank you. Dan Benjamin.
I think it's a trend in Wakefield. You just look at some of the veterans groups, the VFW, the American Legion, have all lost people. There's very few members. I don't even think there's a VFW in Wakefield anymore. American Legion, maybe 5 or 6 or 7 people are in that. I think you've got a lot of older people in a lot of groups, even in clubs in Wakefield now. The younger people just don't get involved as much as they used to. I mean, myself, I'm involved with 14 different groups in town, 4 or 5 different events on the same day. Me and my wife belong to the Council on Aging. We also just got newly elected to the Council on Disabilities. I'm on WCNA. We're trying to get a new Boys and Girls Club in the Civic Center, which will open in September. I'd like to see something go on in Wakefield as far as recreation, to get that going. But I just think that people just don't have the time anymore. They don't want to take the time to be involved. And people come up to me and say, why do you belong to this club or that club? And I think I belong to more friends of than there is. But if you don't know why people volunteer, then you just don't get it. And what can I say other than that? I volunteer for everything. I wish other people did.
Thank you. Mark Sardella, a question for Tiz Dodo, please.
Tiz, I think you touched on this a couple of questions ago, but a number of merchants have said that the relative law isn't working. Do you agree? And if so, how can it be changed to meet the needs of both current and new businesses with respect to signage?
Yeah, and again, Mark, I think this just goes back to my, my answer earlier, where let's kind of alleviate some of the red tape that goes along with opening a business. As simple as this, as a sign is, let's not make it as hard. I think the bylaw, the intent of it was good. I think that, I think it needs a little bit of tweaking. I think the review process could be a little consuming. I think we should definitely try to simplify it as much as possible. I agree with the parameters that they set place in the bylaw in terms of the size of the sign, the length of the sign, the lighting, the gooseneck, the goose, stuff like that, the bylaw was meant for. But I just think we just need to tweak it a little bit and make it a little easier for businesses to come in. And, a lot of these signs in the downtown area, and they're grandfathered in. Maybe we give businesses a little bit of an incentive to change their sign, to make it more attractive to them to come to the town to change their sign, so that we get that uniform look that we're looking for instance, down in Melrose Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean Margerson.
Yes, I'm going to echo a little bit what Tiz just said, but there's really, in my mind, there's only two ways to get the sound bylaw. Does it have issues? Yes, but I think what you're trying to do is introduce a suggestion and not a requirement. And saying that, what I would suggest is that maybe we imply or impose with new businesses that it's required to have the new signage, and if it's not, maybe there's different standards. The only thought that I had is we had different standards, meaning if there's a my understanding is that there's a certain amount of obviously pretty hefty expense to conform to it. If we can somehow give incentive or tax incentive and rebate, or not rebate, delayed tax incentive to actually move forward with it. And we have to make sure that we impose or suggest to the merchants that it will enhance their business if that message is sunk in.
Thank you. Michael Nardone.
I believe that the sign bylaws should be done on case-by-case situation. One case comes to mind is the S&M liquor store had a very big old sign. He wanted to take it down, smaller, a little bit different, but everything's going to be smaller and everything in detail and much better looking. And it took several months. When I say several months, I bet it probably took him 9 months to a year for the sign law bylaw committee to okay it. Here's a person who's trying to make it better looking and comply with everything, and they put him so-called through the ringer. It's just, every case should be, by itself, not the whole town.
Thank you. Dan Benjamin.
As far as signed bylaws, I know they've got a signed bylaw district for the business area in Wakefield. I think they should make it for the entire town. Whereas you've got some areas in town where right next door, they have a huge sign, and another business can't have a sign like that. I think what they should do is possibly enforce the bylaws, give somebody time to get up to the standards of the bylaw, maybe get a bylaw enforcement officer in Wakefield of some type. I don't know if that would be an enforcement officer, an assistant building inspector, or what, but somebody that could enforce that law, but give the businesses time to adapt to that law. I think some of the businesses in the downtown area You just go down there, down Main Street in Wakefield, you look at some of them, have got so much stuff on the sidewalk, the menu boards. I mean, it's almost like running an obstacle course down Main Street in the summertime, going through the menu boards. All of those signs are, but does anybody enforce those laws? No. Who enforces them? Nobody knows. Is it the building inspector? Is it the police chief? Is it the DPW? Nobody really knows, so nobody enforces. As long as nobody gives a complaint against one, then they stay there.
Thank you. Ann Santos.
I would echo what Tiz said about perhaps tweaking some of the town bylaws. If the reason behind the bylaw is uniformity, and everyone had Melrose in mind, I think, when the bylaws were passed, to have so much red tape, and as Michael said, to have someone work for months to try to get something that seemed to fit within the intent of the bylaw, and to have it be difficult doesn't make sense. I think part of the issue with the grandfathering is that some of those signs that perhaps aren't as appealing maybe to a new owner, or that is to give incentives, to somehow say that we can help you change, tweak, bring it into the modern era of what like Wakefield to be. So re-looking at it and trying to cut some of that red tape, I think, would be key.
Thank you. We're at the point now of 2-minute closing statements. Each candidate in turn has an opportunity, beginning with Dan Benjamin.
Oh, just thank you. I'm not a great speaker, but let me tell you one thing. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a general manager, but I know Wakefield. I've been here for 66 years. I'm a proud product of Water Street in the 50s, in the Gulch, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm also proud of being from Wakefield. Nobody in this room is prouder than me of being from Wakefield. Maybe some of you may know my father years ago worked on a DPW. He worked for the town for years. My father came from grassroots. He was a town worker, a laborer. My father worked all his life on the back of a rubbish truck. And today, here, his son is sitting here talking to you. What I more or less have to tell you now is what I think I'm for, or I know I'm for. And I'll give you a slight list here of what I'm for. I think there should be a moratorium on the marijuana dispensaries. I believe we should have a meeting with the group home on Lafayette Street. I think we should update the master plan for the town of Wakefield. It's over 10 years old. It cost the town over $100,000 to do it 10 years ago. I think the parking in Wakefield needs to be improved, better signage in the downtown. And I think we need actually a parking garage of some type. And I know that there've been some developments in town that maybe promised to do a garage, a private garage, in by the Cooperative Bank area. I think the school committee should meet more often with the Board of Selectmen. I think we should have a better summertime recreational program. And I think maybe the Boys and Girls Club coming in will help out on that. I shop local, I eat local. And while I'm here, I can maybe say one thing. I wish the Pledge of Allegiance would be said at the town meeting. I wish the American flag was up on the stage for that town meeting. And me, Daniel Benjamin, I humbly ask for your vote on April 30th. And I won't let you down. Thank you.
Ann McGonigal Santos.
I'm running for selectman very simply because I love this town. I've always loved this town. I knew when I was in high school that at some point after going to college and law school, I wanted to come back and raise my family here. Virtually the entire time I've lived in this town, 3 generations of my family have lived here. And I think because of that, I'm very sensitive to the needs of senior citizens in town, to folks like me who are homeowners trying to do the best we can, working, and also children in the school system. I've volunteered for several years. I've taught CCD in town. I've coached youth basketball, t-ball. I volunteered at the PTOs. and have been a member of the Board of Health for 7 years. I'm very proud of the work I've done on the Board of Health, bringing it from a board that had some issues to now that we're really have been talked about in the state as one of the best boards because of our regionalization, joining Mel. I think we've done a great job for Wakefield, bringing more services to Wakefield through the board. I think as an attorney, I can bring a critical eye to certain issues, as I have with the Board of Health, based on regulations that come before us. And finally, I've myself have worked through experienced tragedy in Wakefield. Friends of mine and people I've loved have gone through that, and I have never seen a town that has come together and surrounded itself with love and support for people in Wakefield. And the soul of Wakefield is beautiful. I think its body has not been so beautiful, and I'd like to be a part of bringing Wakefield to that, to the future, to match those both up. But very simply, I love the town, and I think I would serve it well. Thank you.
Thank you. Tiziano Doto.
Thank you, Mr. Watts, for moderating this debate, and thank you to AT for hosting this event. I first of all want to thank the citizens of Wakefield for electing me to the Board of Selectmen 3 years ago. I hope they give me another opportunity to spend 3 more years on the board. I just want to highlight some of the things I've supported in the past 3 years that I think has made, and I hope has made this town a better place to live. First of all, I supported long-range planning and financial policy that the town has put forth. Our reserves went from 3% 3 years ago to 10%, which gives us a great rating with Wall Street. Honest budgeting. For example, snow and ice. They used to budget $200,000 for snow and ice. That was, that was not something that was honest. $600,000 is what we budget now. And I think that's something that that is right, and we should be transparent in that regard. Capital expenditures are up to $1.5 million, all within Proposition 2.5. As before, they were $200,000 a year. The most important vote, and probably the easiest vote that I took, was converting to the GIC. Saved us millions of dollars going forward. For the first time, we're level funding our health insurance. As opposed to before, it was increasing at a 12% rate. I supported the regionalization of services, such as veterans services, health and building inspector, and the assessors regionalization as well. I supported the return of the fire prevention officer and the DARE officer. As chairman of the collective bargaining committee, we finally got a police contract that was fair and equitable. So just given the history and the work that I have done along with the Board of Selectmen, Steve Mayo, our town administrator, I respectfully request your vote come on election day, and hope to be back on the board for another 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean S. Margerson.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the WCAT, the station, and the staff. Greatly appreciate you hosting the event, and Mark Siddell and Bill LaForm, thank you very much. I have a great connection to Wakefield. My wife is a third-generation Wakefieldian, and I have 3 children in the Wakefield school system, grammar, middle school, and high school, so I'm spread out quite well. I'm very proud to call Wakefield my home and look forward to the opportunity of working hard as a selectman to show leadership in this town. You can have confidence in voting for me, as my background suggests I'm a solid fit for the Board of Selectmen. I have a master's degree in leadership from Northeastern. I'm a dedicated town servant by serving on the Capital Planning Committee, Economic Development Committee, and on the Information Technology Committee. The economy is slowly getting better, and I believe that Wakefield has tremendous promise and opportunity, more so than many neighboring towns. And I want to work hard to make sure it is at the economic forefront of the future. I've worked hard as chair of the Capital Planning Committee for the last 5 years to ensure that the tax dollars spent on the capital needs were spent very wisely. In 2008, I worked with the team to update and streamline the approval process for capital requirements. As a result, fiscal efficiency and planning have been dramatically enhanced. I presented notable capital investments such as critical need vehicles for police, fire, DPW, as well as crucial repairs for our schools and town buildings, and look forward to continuing to do so. More recently, I was instrumental in the adoption of the recreation bond to replace our aged high school facilities, sports facilities. The adoption of this bond allows us to completely installing turf fields, new stands, concession stands, etc. Replace the Beasley Field with a new track and turf field, and replace the high school tennis courts as well as the Wakefield High School fieldhouse floor. One of our main goals as a selectman will be to find innovative ways to upgrade the downtown areas and to help Wakefield maximize its commercial growth potential. It also makes sense, similar to the suggestions in the town's master plan, to enhance Wakefield's growth by promoting more mixed use. I will work hard to ensure that the town is fiscally responsible and maintain a very sound budget.
Thank you. F. Michael Nardone.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody involved in putting on tonight's debate. Since 1968, for the past 45 years, I've split my time from being a Massachusetts State Police officer and being involved in the whole community, being elected to different town offices and donating my time for all various committees. I feel as though that my community involvement and knowing the works of this town, what it needs, which way we should be going and everything else, I feel as though if I'm elected selectman, I won't disappoint anybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the press panel, William LaForme from Wakefield Patch and Mark Sardella from the Wakefield Daily Item for posing the questions to the candidates this evening. I want to thank the candidates for participating. Very important when we see citizens turn out for our elected offices. And I want to thank you for watching. Remember, democracy is only working for those who participate. Please turn out for the election on April 30th. Vote your choices, both for the town election and for the Senate primary. And don't forget that on May 6th, annual town meeting begins. We need your vote there as well. Thank you for joining us. Good night.